Hello everybody and welcome to the final North American round of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge here for Season 11. We're going to reach the halfway mark of this championship after this race, and we've been all over the North American continent from Daytona right the way to Watkins, Glen here today. We have been all over and we thoroughly enjoyed doing so, but there's still another half of the season to go, because after this we're going to be heading to Japan for a couple of rounds and then a final European home stretch with the final 5 rounds coming from Europe in this championship, all culminating of course with that race at Spa right towards the very end of this championship. So we look forward to that, but for now it is Watkins Glen, the newly resurfaced circuit in America that is faster than ever, and I'm sure we're going to see some very fast action here today. My name is Ewan O'Leary, I'm alongside Steve Proudly for this one once again, and yeah, iconic endurance racing circuit this one, Steve, a little bit more suited to this format of racing than Belle Isle, which we saw 1 week ago.
Yeah, Belle Isle was certainly interesting, certainly difficult, and very, very tight for some of those drivers, as we saw a few incidents. But Watkins Glen, another iconic circuit on the calendar, and like you say, it's very much more suited to this style of racing. There's some good passing points. There's still going to be some tricky braking points. There's still going to be some issues, I think, with passing cars. But yeah, it's going to be a good one tonight, I think, and I feel sure there's going to be some great racing, and there'll be a few drivers looking to turn the tide of some poor results tonight, I think.
Yeah, one man trying to continue on in his run of form at the moment is Jeffrey Humes, who's just won the last 2 races at Belle Isle and Road America. He's taken out both of those and proved himself to be very, very handy indeed. Let's not forget, won the GT3 championship, I think it was, the GTE championship, it was, just checking my notes, about a few seasons ago. And yeah, he's come to the prototypes this season, and so far he's absolutely running away with it. Currently topping qualifying as well here out there. It's just started, we're about halfway through. We'll check in with that in a few moments time. But yeah, he's in a great run of form, as you mentioned, a few trying to turn the tide on a bad run of form, like Dan Neese, I guess you could say, who's really falling back over the last few weeks. He's only scored 9 points in the last 3 rounds, which is not ideal at all. David A. Williams has also not had a podium in a couple of rounds as well, which is a little bit poor by his very high standards, and so he'll be looking to improve as well. But it's still Carter Gunniger and Billy Smith II who are 1 and 2 in this championship. Now after the Belle Isle race, only separated by 3 points in this championship. So yeah, it's very, very close indeed. And yeah, as you said, Dan Neese is going to be one of those trying to turn the tide. And obviously, Jeffrey Humes, where can he get to after all of this in this championship? He's not totally out of it, even though he's joined very late. Look at the GTM standings just before we go any further. Kevin O'Keefe managed to retain a bit of a championship lead over Ryan Robertson, who really missed an opportunity last week to gain some points at a circuit that O'Keefe is really not comfortable at. Robertson got into his own problems and didn't end up gaining that many points. They're starting to run away from the rest, really, led by Trent Brown and David Parry. Matthew Gotch, who had a decent run out last week as well, who's starting to fall back all the same. So yeah, there's a lot of GTM cars, and yeah, it's really becoming a battle between Kevin O'Keefe and Ryan Robertson in that one. And finally, GT Pro, of course, it was Ross Booth extending his championship lead. The defending champion now streaks ahead to a bigger margin over Bradley Haley, then Paul Gibson, and GTD winner from last season, Brian Wozleski, moving up to Pro and 4th place, showing a good account of himself in Season 11 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. So here we are, we're going to jump into qualifying now and see who's where, really, and we'll see that Jeffrey Humes is right up towards the front once again, as to be expected, really, from him at this stage. He's got nearly a few tenths over David A. Williams, you could say, and then Carter Gunniger, Robert Tinsey, Cameron Bidwell, David Schutt, the top 6. Billy Smith the second down in 7th at the moment, a little bit further down than you'd expect to see him. But either way, it's still going to be an important qualifying session, as we've seen in the week gone past. 15 minutes as normal, and to see who's getting on pole position. But this run of form from Jeffrey Humes just doesn't look like it can be stopped at the moment. 2.5 tenths of a second is what he has over the field.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, is he going to make it a hat trick of wins tonight? This will be three from the last three if he does this, and that is three from the three that he's entered. So it's a very, very impressive run of form. But Kat Cunningham, he's just twice he's not been on the podium. He's had 3 seconds and a third. So he's looking to maintain that run of form to carry on leading this championship, and he needs to do that and just remain consistent as he's been doing pretty well so far. Dan Neese, I mean, he had a great start to the season, didn't he, with 3 podiums and 2 of those being wins. And then from mid-Ohio onwards, he's really struggled, and Road America disappointing. And last week was just a complete write-off. So he's going to come back tonight. Well, he's actually not here tonight. I was going to say he needed to be back tonight really to get some good points, Ewan, and revitalise his run on the championship, because he's really struggled, and missing another round tonight is not going to help that cause.
Yeah, I was going to say, I could have sworn I saw him earlier, but I clearly didn't. So there we are. He's going to be falling behind even further, I'm afraid, in this one. So yeah, who else is going to step up to the plate? Well, obviously we've got Cunningham and Smith up there, 1 and 2 at the moment in the championship. Then we've got the likes of Williams, who could get up there. Seeing GT Pro at the moment, that the leader, we're trying to focus in on him, but I believe there has been some problem somewhere along the way for Ross Booth. And he might have. I don't know. I'm trying to listen and talk at the same time. So we're just trying to have a look at the standings of the other orders. So Ross Booth obviously qualifying on pole for a GT Pro, because we haven't mentioned that yet, and Ryan Robertson once again getting towards the front of GT Am. But Kevin O'Keefe there, notably, 3rd place for him. He did well to limit the damage really 1 week ago at Belle Isle. He really doesn't like that circuit. But he managed to he managed to lose as little amount of points as possible. The gap's now 5. He actually gained a point on Ryan Robertson, I should say. So yeah, he turned a bad day into real damage limitation. Actually extended his championship lead, but it's still going to be between those two, you would imagine. But yeah, decent showing from O'Keefe in that session.
Yeah, O'Keefe was really struggling at points last time out, wasn't he? At but he managed to salvage some reasonable points, and his main rivals didn't capitalise on what was looking like a grim day for O'Keefe. And let's not forget, these GT classes are providing some really, really close racing. And I mean the GT Pros as well. Ross Booth, he's been on the podium every round apart from the first one, so he's looking for a fantastic run of form. He's had 2 wins, a second and 2 thirds, so he's really sort of piling on the dominance in that GT Pro class. But Bradley Haley, Paul Gibson, Ryan Wasilewski, they've all been pretty close to him, and the battle in the Pro class has been very, very close week after week. It's been a good class to watch. But back to the action, with Ooms still seeming like he's untouchable in that prototype at the top of the timing tower at the moment, with Williams 2.5 tenths back in second place. It's not looking like anyone's going to be challenging him for that pole at the moment, is it, Ewan?
Not really. For the moment, only 3 drivers within half a second at this stage, which is quite surprising to see. So, as we see, go on board, Luke Carbonu up the hill through turns 1, 2, well, not 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, excuse me, the S's, of course, and where it really does narrow up. Hopefully in the race we don't see this, but you can get often a pile-up through there. Not trying to tempt fate or anything. But yeah, the first run through traffic for the LMP2, especially up there. Let's hope there's not an incident, or indeed on the first lap where it's very bunched up as well, of course, because the track will get blocked very easily, and we don't want to see that, especially given we haven't got the safety cars in this race. There's no need for them in an hour race really, but it still could mean there's a real big pile up. Let's hope not though, as there's a number of drivers out there on their final flying laps. Billy Smith has done a good job in the last few moments to get himself up into 5th, but he's not going to be setting another lap time in this one. Cunningham and Schutt are going to try and get out there for one last go, and we're going to see Ooms and Williams also out there on flying laps at the moment. I don't really think anybody's improving. Jeffrey Ooms came over the line there. He was only a 10th down on his best lap time, but he's still not going to extend that margin. He might not need to by the end of this one really, because I can't see Williams or Cunningham really improving here. Well, we'll have to wait another minute and a half or so for Cunningham to improve by the looks of things, although it looks like he's pushing very hard indeed. abnormally hard for an outlap, but he's just trying to get round really, so with 20 seconds to spare. And yeah, down into George turn, and we'll see if he really does have an opportunity to get anywhere. I don't think he will, but whether he can get through ahead of Williams or not is really going to be the main focus here, because that certainly is possible for him.
Yeah, and Cunningham here, he's looking pretty good in third at the moment. He'll be relatively happy with that, although he's pushing hard now to try and improve. But he'll be relatively happy with that because he's ahead of his championship rival of Smith, who's currently in 5th place. So he's looking like he's going to get ahead of him on the grid. But there's not a lot of difference between them on times at the moment. We see Cunningham using all of the track and a little bit more. I was going to say that the one thing to watch out for around Watkins Glen, some of the curbs can be quite savage, and I think more so for some of the GT cars rather than these prototypes, they can get thrown around a bit, and we may see a few incidents into that first bus stop chicane. There might be a few cars on the curbs there, too much curb there, and they tend to get airborne and straight off into the barrier. So there's it's not without its pitfalls, isn't Watkins Glen. It's going to be a good one to watch, and Cat's going to be getting it all kinds of wrong there and going way too wide, so that lap times is going to be invalidated, pretty certain of that. So it's looking like he's got 3rd place at the moment as the clock has hit 45 and the checker flag is out, so that's qualifying over. The flying laps that they're on, they'll be able to finish, but as I say, I think Cunningham has invalidated this lap, Björn.
Yeah, you say that, but iRacing does let you go an abnormally long way out there, so I never quite wanted to say anything, but it didn't seem to matter anyway, because Cunningham wasn't able to improve, as we suspected. But yeah, do watch out for that in the race. You can get quite wide there without getting a slowdown or an off track or anything there. So yeah, it's one you can exploit, and one of the places you can exploit in iRacing. Probably not for long. It will get patched up eventually, I suspect. But either way, you can go a long way out there, and it's one of the things that happens when you take away grass, I suppose, at these circuits. iRacing obviously being updated with the new resurfaced version of Watkins Glen, allowing the cars to run a lot closer to the ground than they used to, especially the prototypes. And it's increasing the speed quite drastically, especially in the more flowing corners of this circuit, which is of course most of them, if not all. They all kind of flow into one another. Even the chicane is quite nice around here, so yeah, it's one of those nice circuits to drive. But how easy is it going to be to really overtake around here? That's the question. I think with the traffic, it might be possible, more possible than in other situations.
I was going to say, I don't know, it's going to still throw up its difficulties because, as you say, it's a fast track, it's a flowing track, and while it's fast and flowing, there is still only that real one optimum prime line that you want to be on. So they're still going to have to be very alert, very aware, because they're going to have to start taking some alternative lines at some very high speed through these corners. But I'll let you take us through the grid and we'll get back to that in a moment.
Yeah, let's have a look at the grid before we go any further. Jeffrey Humes, another pole position for him, and David A. Williams, good qualifying, 2nd place for him. Championship leader Carter Cunningham just behind those two, with David Shutt alongside him. Billy Smith for 2nd is going to be 5th, ahead of Robert Tinsey. Karen Bidwell is going to be alongside Patrick with Daniel. Leif Peterson is going to be alongside Luke Carbonu, rounding out the top 10. Kevin Binkley outside the top 10, I'm afraid, and Brad Bow also alongside him on row 6. Dominic Durnenberg is next, ahead of Robert Kansian, Chris Sherburn and Joshua Wolf, rounding out your LMP2 grid. It's a familiar look to the front of GT Pro, with Ross Booth ahead of Albert Jones, Paul Gibson not far behind, and neither is Ryan Wojcicki. Bradley Haley's just inside the top 5 alongside Joey Atterbury on the 3rd row. Christopher Payes and Jimbo Pfeiffer are both inside the top 10, as are Young Park and Nico Kopkar, as they seem to be able to manage every single week. Mo Islam surprisingly outside the top 10 on this occasion. Don't often see him out there, but he is 11th this time. Clifton Naranjo is 12th, I believe his first appearance of the season. Paul Slavanik and Olivier Turcot are on the final row of the GT Pro grid. Ryan Robertson and Robert Cast are lining up at the front of GT AM together. Kevin O'Keefe, a much better showing from him this time, alongside Franco Margarella. Bradley Salmon and Luke Schmidt are next, ahead of Matthew Gotch and John Kelly. Eric C. Thomas and Sheldon Rosenbaum round out the top 10 in GT AM. Kevin Santana and Trent Brown round out the 6th row. Then we've got Joe Stifle and David Parry, Shane Hunter, David Iverson on the 8th row, and finally Matt Owens, Dale Green, Boyd Payne and Mark Santana are all rounding out your top 20 to round out the 20 cars on the GTM field. But yeah, stacked grid once again here, Steve. It's it's a good 50 cars out here. Excuse me, a good 16 prototypes. A lot of lapping for those guys to do over the next 60 minutes. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit longer track this week, a little bit more, like you said, a bit more open. They might find a bit of space a little bit more frequently. Maybe won't be tripping over as many cars as often, but still a lot of overtakes to do, still a lot of space to try and find in some difficult circumstances. But it's going to be really interesting. It would be a brave man that would bet against Mr. Ooms for taking the win this evening, but Williams in second in qualifying. I think he'll have a good go for it, and Booth as well, stamping his authority in the GT Pro. Be interesting to see what O'Keefe can do from third place. Will his race pace stand him in good stead? As we've seen quite often, he does well in the races. He's not always the top man at qualifying, but as long as he's there or thereabouts, he could be. He's still in with a chance, and he'll be looking to extend that lead. But Williams needs a good finish in the prototypes tonight, because that's going to take him potentially up into third place in the championship, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Try not to give Mike a hard time here. I just called him Mark. Sorry about that. But there we are. We're getting ready anyway for the race here in a moment. The final few cars are getting themselves lined up here on the formation lap. Well, it's not really a formation lap, is it? More of a formation sector, but you get the idea. It will serve a purpose. David A. Williams, as you mentioned, though. 31 points back at this stage on the raw points. We've yet to factor in break weeks. We're yet to factor in the drop weeks, I should say, in this championship, because it's just too early, really. 6 rounds in, so we are kind of marvelling at how close it is. But it may well change by the time those drop weeks do come into effect, because those who have had on-off seasons don't tend to lose much. So the likes of Dan Neeson and David A. Williams, Williams is already going to be losing a round at Daytona where he scored 1 point, and last week at Daytona where he only scored 5. He's going to lose those, whereas the guys at the front might possibly lose podium finishes, quite possibly.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, and I mean, I'm just looking at the results so far. And Cunningham there, his worst result was the first round at Daytona, and potentially that's 7 points off him, and then his next worst is 18 points. The rest of the guys, as it stands at the moment, everybody's had some very poor finishes. They've had incidents and accidents that have resulted in some very, very low scoring round spots. So I think at the moment, Kartik Cunningham would suffer the worst with the drop rounds as it stands right now, which, as you rightly said, could really shake up the championship. It could change a few positions. So it's in third place. He's got 2 very, very quick guys ahead of him. He just needs to try and stay on the podium. For me, I don't, obviously push for the win if he can, but I think that the thing he's got to concentrate on at the moment from where he is just keeping that third place, staying ahead of Smith, and damage limitation with the other 2 guys if they set off at an astonishing pace.
It's quite possible. It's really how Cunningham has shaped his season so far in this one. That's why he's leading. So yeah, there we are. The prototypes get going, and then just in a few moments' time, all the GTs will as well. Jeffrey Ooms for the 3rd round in a row, the 3rd time in 4 weeks in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, is going to be in control of the field to get us going and get us racing for 1 hour around Watkins Glen. Is he going to control it from start to finish like he did at Road America, taking home a big lead on that day? Cunningham ran him close at Belal, but really he wasn't touched last week either. What is this week going to present for Jeffrey Ooms? He's in control of the field once again, and he gets going here at Watkins Glen. The green flag is in the air for 1 hour of racing, and already Ooms is off to a good start. He's able to take his own line into turn number 1. He's going to take the lead through here. 3 wide for second, though, as cars go all over the place. That's David Schutt trying to make his way up into second, but can't quite do it. It's Kartik Cunningham, the championship leader, who's got ahead of his championship rival Williams off the start. A very impressive one for him, as Ross Booth has got off to a good start here as well. Albert Jones into second by the looks of things. Rusleski with a decent start there. Paul Gibson slots himself into 4th. We go a little bit further back to the AMs, who are in amongst it at the moment as well. 2 by 2 all the way up the hill for these guys, and hopefully they don't come across any prototypes stuck in the middle of the road here at this very, very narrow portion. Looks like everybody's got away cleanly, including Cunningham, who was briefly into second. He's down to 3rd now. Williams got back through on him, but look at the battles further down the midfield. It's allowed the leaders like Ooms and Williams to get away very, very quickly already.
Yeah, Cunningham had a really good start and got up to second. Like you say, he was in a clear second place. So I'm wondering if he's had a little bit of an issue or whether it was just the slipstream that allowed Williams to get back past him. But Ooms and Williams are pulling away a little bit at the front as we drop back to see Gibson in the GT Pro class. Now, this is a name we recognise week in, week out, with some battles with Jones and Haley around him at the moment. So it's going to be very, very tight. And these are the few laps where they need to just settle in, get everything up to temperature and get the cars up to pace without making any silly moves, but without giving away too many places. And he's definitely tucked into the slipstream there as we go back to see Smith, who's down in 7th. He'll be disappointed with that start. Something's happened there. He's had a few cars passing him and got off to a bit of a bad start and dropped away. That's not what he wanted to do with Cunningham up there in 3rd place.
Patrick McDaniel is applying the pressure to him as well at the moment, as Nico Kufkar is battling with Mo Islam here. We used to seeing these guys on the fringes of the top 5 actually, but they're now battling for that last spot inside the top 10 here at the moment. A few guys having a very good week up in front, like Jimbo Pfeiffer, who's currently 8th place, retaining his very, very strong qualifying position. Brian Robertson, of course, is really performing very well as well. We go down towards turn number 1, outside line for Paul Slavanik quite possibly as well in that Ferrari, looking up the hill here. It's a long way around through turn 2. It's a completely flat out corner, so he might be able to do it here inside for 3, but it's going to be a bit of a squeeze on the exit of this turn, and he's, oh dear, that was close between the Lamborghini and the Ferrari. Islam was just able to hold his ground there, and Kopkar's Kopkar trying to hold his ground there, and he does so up the hill. So yeah, good battling through there, but you do have to think about it, especially when you're in the GTs. That IC's section is flat out when you're on your own, but you do have to think about it a little bit harder when you're battling side by side like we just saw there. But thankfully those two were very, very civilised indeed, and managed to keep things clean.
Yeah, obviously on board now in the AMS with Castor, who's up behind, he's 5 seconds off Robertson at the moment, but O'Keefe in 4th place, so a solid start from our championship leader at the moment. He'll be looking to build on that as he's a couple of tenths back from 3rd place, but it's these opening laps where they've got to be measured aggression. They've got to be careful. They don't want to lose positions, but they don't want to throw the race away by some silly moves, as we see Tinsley now on Schutt trying to get through here, and he's climbing all over the back of Schutt, looking to go wide here. Schutt's gone very defensive onto the inside. This is going to it's all fallen back in line. I thought for a minute there they were going to go 2 by 2 into the braking zone, but there's only one line through the bus stop there, and Schutt got the line, and Tinsey looking to get past.
A little bit of a battle going further back with Peterson getting through on Patrick McDaniel. I just wonder if McDaniel actually tried to make a move on Billy Smith while we were looking, and oh dear me, was Tinsey getting all out of shape? I just wonder if McDaniel tried to make a move on Smith, and he's now paying for it because he lost 2 places there to Peterson, as I just mentioned, and also Luke Carman, who got through on him as well and has already skipped off up the road. So there may have been something going on there, but there's so much going on, it's hard to really know. Very congested though on the back end of the top 10 and just outside of it, because up front the top 4 are all separated by at least a second. Robert Tinsey on David Schutt is the closest one inside the top 5. This is Kevin Binkley. Oh, into the barriers. We said that this circuit obviously been resurfaced a little bit quicker, but you can still get out of shape over those bumps on those curves through the chicane. And oh my goodness me, Matthew Gutch in the pits after only 1 lap, and that's why he ended up on his roof, not by himself either, by the looks of things. This is the penultimate corner. He's hit the wall at a strange angle, and he's gone over by the looks of it. Oh dear.
Yeah, what was I just saying about throwing your race away in the opening laps? That's what happened there. Obviously, we didn't see the build up to it there, but may be interesting if we did. But that certainly damaged his race, if not ended his race. But we're back on now with this battle with Tinsey. And sorry, I got it wrong earlier. I said Schutt and Tinsey. It's Tinsey and Bidwell battling hard here and battling very, very close. As Bidwell just runs a little bit wide there, but he's still in touch with Schutt and keeping Schutt under all kinds of pressure. But it's going to be interesting to see if he can soak that pressure up and how long they can last. they need to get some moves done now. It won't be many more laps until they're coming up to the GT cars and looking to put laps on, and that's when it gets all kind of hectic. That's when they start to the gaps will to and fro as the prototypes make their way through the field. This is the opportunity now to get some clean passing done and get some overtakes and maybe get a bit of a gap if you have got the pace on that car in front. And it's looking like Tinsley's certainly looking to make a move on Shutt ahead of him, as well as keeping the guys behind. As we go back to the pros now, and it's Paz in 6th place, looking to try and get past Haley, I think it is.
I think it's Robertson getting himself all with the GT pros. Timing order obviously thought is everyone by class, and Robertson
absolutely, yeah,
in the ascendancy at the moment has really got himself involved with these guys. As I mentioned, always a very difficult situation for him to be in, because he wants these points that they score points as a GT overall category, but there's a separate GT AM part, so the more cars he can have between himself and his AM rivals, the better really. But he also doesn't want to be involved in a fight that doesn't really involve him. Oh god, excuse me, that doesn't really involve him. Because at the moment he's got 10 cars between himself and his GTM nearest rival. That's massive in terms of championship points, but he's just got to really weigh this one up and see how hard he's going to fight this one. It'll be interesting to see over this race how hard he decides to fight this week.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is the battle in the prototypes at the minute for this 4th place. Got 4th, 5th and 6th running round in very close order, and even 7th's not that far back, as Smith's looking to recover from that 7th place at the moment. He started a little bit higher up on the grid than that, but he's looking to move forward. But Jeffrey Humes is certainly moving forward, still out in the lead, but David A. Williams has set the fastest lap, only by a couple of tenths faster than Humes, but he's setting the pace, and he's wanting to keep in touch with Jeffrey Humes up at the front, as we're watching Kopka in 10th place in the pros now, applying pressure and absorbing pressure at the same time.
There he is, that's Young Park just behind him. Paul Slavenik not too far behind. Jimbo Pfeiffer's recently been overtaken by Mo Islam, making a good start in this race, and is now in the clutches of the Lamborghini. The shot of the bus stop chicane, that's once again, I think it was Haley trying to get through on Robertson last time. Was it? Or was Joey Atterbury, excuse me. Well, it's Joey Atterbury now, because Christopher Page was trying to get through, and Atterbury has come unstuck trying to get through by lots of things, because he's dropping down the order very, very quickly. So we saw Christopher Page getting his nose down the inside of Robertson there. Looks like he got through, and Atterbury tried to get through as well, and unfortunately has come unstuck. And there he is on the inside line. Thankfully everybody avoided him, but clearly he's come into contact with somebody, trying to get down the inside of a 3-wide moment, going through turn 5, that is, the outer loop, and yeah, it's always a difficult place to stick your nose up the inside, and that's exactly why. Oh, Bidwell's gone for a spin as well on another replay. A fantastic avoidance from Billy Smith that was there in the 901, getting around the outside of Bidwell, who was spinning in front of him, and he's managed to get away with that one. Here's Cotter Cunningham trying to get through. Oh dear! Championship leader comes into contact with Robert Caston. He's got away with one. That comes into contact with one of his teammates, no less. That'll cause some drama.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't want to be in that debrief, but Carter Cunningham around the outside there just made slight contact, and it ended okay for him, but not so well for his teammate. But that's going to be the battles. That's what I was talking about. They're going through these corners. Yes, there's a little bit more space on track, but there's still only one optimum line, and they're attacking a lot of these corners at a lot higher speed than they were last time out at Belle Isle. So it's going to be it's equal. It's own little problems at Watkins Glen with the speed and everything, but Peterson in 7th place is piling on the pressure now. He's really got the hammer down, but they're in amongst all the traffic now, and this is when it gets really, really busy and really, really difficult.
No.
Look at them shots in the background there.
Somebody has, it's Robert Cansian who's got around, I'm afraid, in the LMP2 category. I said up the hill there through 2, 3 and 4. It's always going to be difficult when the LMP2s come through the GTs for the first time. Seeing with Peterson right now as well. See, Nickel Kopkar's come unstuck as well. He's gotten hit by somebody through the... that's a hard hit into the wall as well, through turn 6, that is, through the chute. So, goodness me, there's been a lot of things going on in terms of contact for in this first run of traffic. This is Kansian recovering from that incident there. I just wonder if somebody else has come into contact with him either before the incident to make it happen or afterwards. Looks like he's just pulled off at the bus stop here. This is Trent Brown going around as well. Noses into the barrier. A couple of cars involved in that one. It's a chaotic opening run through traffic and almost rivalling Belle Isle for drama, this one early on.
Yeah, as I say, I think it's a combination of the speed that is causing the problems this evening and the amount of cars on track. Obviously, like you say, it's the first time through, the first run through. Everybody's still bunched up close together, and that includes the prototypes as they try and find their way through. But they are finding their way through. Things will start to settle down. But I'm just looking back into the AM class at the moment and just keeping an eye on O'Keefe, and he's up to third place at the minute. So he's making his way forward. He's doing what he did. As we're just looking back at P10 in the pros at the moment, and again it's intertwined. We're battling with the GT pros and the prototypes all at the same time.
Yeah, it's what you love to see. It's Olivier Turcot trying to get through on Paul Slavinik at the moment, the man we're looking from behind. There's smoke in the background as well. Someone has made contact with somebody else. It looks like up towards the rear end of the LP2 field. It's Joshua Wolf. Oh no, on his own. Indeed, it's like by those curves you mentioned earlier on. He can get you unbalanced, and that was good avoiding from everybody there to be able to get away with that one. I think that was the driver who came closest. No, I don't think he was, but it was Kevin O'Keefe was to take avoiding action as well there. So you have to be very heads up in the opening minutes of this race, no doubt about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, heads up and switched on, eyes on stalks, concentration turned up to the maximum, and not just worrying about the battles, but as you can see here, the prototypes coming through on the inside there, plenty of room, no issues at that point. But this is Park and Slavonic having a good bit of a tussle here for P9 in the pro class. So these are not too close, a little bit of breathing room at the moment, but that's the nature of this multi-class racing. As the cars come through, the gaps open up and close back down again, so it's you're never quite sure if someone's got the pace or broken away, because the gaps do tend to concertina a little bit as the traffic goes through.
Yeah, it's a very difficult situation for everybody really to avoid. 13 minutes gone in this race at the moment. That was mainly towards the back of these fields in all three classes at the moment. Jeffrey Ooms with over 3 seconds of a lead in LMP2. Ross Booth has nearly 2 seconds in GT Pro, and in GTM, Ryan Robertson is flying. Bradley Salmon can't get near him, and there's a lot of GT Pro cars in between the two of them, helping that margin of 5 seconds just for the moment. These guys are some of them, I have to say as well. Young Park and Paul Slavinik being two of them. The LMP2s still trying to make their way through. It seems to be, and a dive down the inside as well. Seems to be a few miscommunications really on where to go in this one. One car goes one way, one goes the other. LMP2 second guessing themselves, but they can just whip around the outside of some of these corners now, because they are medium speed and the downforce really helping the LMP2s. And I think you are right, the amount of downforce that they produce does mean they can carry a much higher speed than the GTs through these type of corners. There's no real slow corners here. It's all medium speed, and the LMP2 is a lot more suited to a track like this.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're quite right. Obviously there's no communication between the drivers, but the prototypes are really having to thread the eye of a needle, as it were, through the cars, passing one car on the left and the next car on the right, and that all within a few clicks of a second. You know, it's very, very, very tight, very difficult. As we're looking at Mo Islam now in 7th place, coming under a little bit of pressure now from the BMW behind, and really, he's having to soak up some pressure now, and looking like he's pushing it to the max over the curbs there, just ever so slightly. But that BMW, it's Robertson, I believe, isn't it, Ewan, that's just piling the pressure on.
Yeah, he's sitting in there quite happy. I think Islam has recently got through on him, really. And Robertson all too happy to just sit there for the moment. Paes was not too long ago getting through as well in that Audi, just going through shot just before these guys, bouncing across those curbs through the bus stop chicane. Oh, and side by side a little bit further back. Oh, and it's gone wrong, I'm afraid. The Porsche has gone around. I don't think it was Young Park, it was a little bit further down than that. Olivier Turcot, I think it was. Oh, and he got hit quite hard by one of the Lamborghinis. 44 Lamborghini Bradley Salmon was running second in GTM, got into him, and it was always coming in this race really. We've seen a lot of cars spinning around, we've seen some great avoiding action from the likes of Billy Smith, and Kevin O'Keefe, Kevin O'Keefe has had to do a bit as well, but luck was going to run out for us in the end, and it just has there for Bradley Salmon, I'm afraid.
Yeah, absolutely, and I was just going to mention before Mike cut to these shots of O'Keefe that he was up to second place. He's a little bit way off the leader at the moment, but he's got up to second place now from fourth on the grid, so he'll be pretty happy with his performance this race as he's moving forward. He's cementing that championship at the moment, so doing really, really well. Good to see.
What's Vance Bauer been up to in the final couple of corners here? Final turn, maybe? Is he going to scrape the wall? Oh no, he's going to... Well, I said the luck was running out, and it has done for Vance Bauer as well. Straight into the side of one of the LMP2s. T-bones somebody. Straight away. No front wing. Front wing, that's not really the phrase. Oh, as Jason Iverson has also nosed into the barrier. No front end for him either anymore. Well, a crumpled one anyway. He does still have one, I suppose. It's hanging on. But yeah, into the pit lane, Cameron Bidwell, Robert Kansian of LMP2, and Luke Carbonu and Vance Bauer. We saw them in the most recent accident coming together. Another coming together at the bus stop. We saw there Joe Stifle looks like he was the one involved just up in front. Oh dear, no. I think this is Bradley Salmon trying to get back in, Olivier Turcotte trying to get back into contention. Joe Stifle has absolutely launched him there. Oh my goodness gracious. That is the biggest crash we've seen all season, and will do very well to top that one. Dear me, absolutely launched metres into the air. A wild ride, and I'm afraid that's what happens when you try and rejoin the circuit at the bus stop chicane or through the middle of the last part of it. You're going to get absolutely launched there. That was massive contact.
Yeah, absolutely massive, and pretty much race ending for that Porsche there that was flipped up out of shot. Like, went that high into the sky, it was out of shot. But back to the battles now, and we're in the GT. Oh, who's that that's gone all sorts of sideways there? That was looked like a BMW, I think. But yeah, we're going to get a replay of it now.
Lots of things. See what happened. Oh, was losing it from very early on in that corner through the toe of the boot, and in the end it was quite a civilised spin compared to some of the others. Oh, well, I'll say that he has nosed into the barriers slightly there, but he'll mostly get away with that one. Yeah, this has been a very, very chaotic opening third to this race. We're almost 20 minutes into this one now, and yeah, I'm almost hesitate to say this, but I've seen it more incidents than Belle Isle so far in this one. Very bizarre.
It is indeed, but let's just cut back to we're on board now, watching the GTMs. But O'Keefe in that second place. Obviously, it's his championship rival Robertson who's out in the lead. So if they finish as they are now, that's going to close that championship up massively. Almost be, I've not done the maths to be honest, but almost be pretty much level pegging on points. So it's that's going to close the AM class right up, which is fantastic, as we've seen Young Park go around there, and that was another one that was all by himself, wasn't it? Just lost it on the power and a little bit greedy, offline and into the barrier.
Offline was battling with the likes of Slavinik, Atterbury and Albert Jones as well. How has Albert Jones got himself down here? He's in third place. He was third place at the start of this lap, so something has gone wrong to him as well. This has been truly remarkable. The drama in this race is non-stop right now. And not in a good way for Albert Jones, I'm afraid. He's back inside the top 10 now, but he's had a problem on this lap somewhere. Young Park was battling with him in the end and went wide out on the dirty line and went for a spin of his own. So yeah, who hasn't had a spin out this race? We're almost starting to say, because this has been chaotic, and it doesn't show any signs of slowing down, especially in the GTs. A lot of LMP2s have also come unstuck in this one. 12 of them left up towards the front of the field. 3 have come unstuck somewhere along the lines. And Binkley has managed to get himself back in the contention, really. Well, everybody has sort of. Luke Carbonu, is the one getting himself back into contention after a pit stop a little bit earlier on. We saw him get T-boned by Vance Bauer through the final corner earlier on. He's back recovering again, but yeah, what a crazy race it's been so far, and Albert Jones is not done quite yet, going for 8th place at the expense of Jerry Atterbury.
Yeah, absolutely side by side there at the moment, going towards the bus stop. This could end badly, but there's three of them at it now, and it's a three-car battle very much as they're very respectful of those curbs. As I said earlier, those curbs can scuppy your race. They can launch the car airborne and race-ending accident into the barriers, as we've seen already. As we just drop back now to Santana, who's looking to make a move on Owens ahead, who's got a fantastic run out there, really closed up, and it's looked like going to get this job done before they even get to the bus stop if he's brave on the brakes, and he's moved past on the with the slipstream there and got the job done well before.
Yeah, Santana getting through there. I don't think Owens was too displeased to let him through there, really. It's sometimes not the worst idea to just let the faster car go. So he did there. That's Ryan Robertson, 8 seconds of a lead now. Look at how far they're able to run out wide there. Goodness me. Yeah. Well, they do that in real life as well, so I guess it is realistic, but it's still not right. So anyway, that's a complaint for another day, I think. But yeah, sandwiched in between 6th and 7th in the pro category at the moment is Robertson. That's Mo Islam and Jimbo Piper. Most of the pro cars have been just sailing their way past Robertson, really, in this one, which is to be expected. Now there's only 5 cars between himself and Kevin O'Keefe, so he is still gaining points out here at the moment, Ryan Robertson. And he's gonna. I think he might just overturn this margin. Came in with a 5-point deficit. He is going to overturn that margin at this stage in his favour to retake that championship lead. But as we saw last week, long way to go. We said this about this stage last week. I thought, he's going to gain humongous points on O'Keefe, but then he got into contact. He damaged his car, and all of a sudden actually lost a point by the end of the day. So it's a long race. You never know what can happen. That kind of thing can happen. A late dive from an LMP2, and Mo Islam has to go across the bus stop. He's going to lose 2 places here, no doubt about that. As we see Young Park, please not another rejoin. It's a terrible place to. Well, it's not his fault he spun there, but you don't want to be through there at a blind corner. Oh, it's got to be painful. Be in that car at the moment. This is the dive. Oh, that's a separate one. Billy Smith on one of the Ferraris. Been a lot of that today, and I think, the LMP2 trying to get through on him has also come into contact. It was Robert Tinsey trying to get through on him at the time. Luke Schmidt was on the receiving end of this one, I'm afraid. Oh dear.
Yeah, didn't see much of a run up to that one to really judge who was at fault there, but it almost looked like, as we're just looking at Pfeiffer just going round there under his own doing again, but almost looking like the prototypes are just looking a little bit aggressive, a little bit impatient and trying to force the moves. I'm sure they'll be thinking the GT cars maybe aren't being observant enough, whatever, but yeah, the outcome's the same, and it seems to be the GT cars that are coming off worst at the moment.
Yeah, it's been a very bizarre day so far. For Ryan Robertson, it's turning into a bit of a dream day. Nearly 9 seconds.
Six in the pro class at the moment as well.
Oh, absolutely. He's going to be picking up stacks of points. That's 29. It's going to be his haul so far. The most he's managed so far is 29 at the Road America 1 hour and a half race, I believe that was. Kevin O'Keefe has also managed to 29 on the day. Nobody managed to break the top 5 in the in the GTM class though. Oh, there's another one goes across the chicane. Joey Atterbury this time. You just wonder who's at fault for that one. Is it a GT or an LMP2? As Billy Smith going around the outside of them. But you can see 4 cars all in a very small space. And it was Mo Islam trying to get down the inside of him. Atterbury, I think, just kind of almost missed his turning point there. He could have made the corner, I suppose, but not without slowing down a dangerous amount. So just decided to take the easy route.
And that's the big thing here. If you slow down anything out of the ordinary, then the closing speed of all the cars around you is so great that it just does cause an accident. So taking the wiser choice there to take the escape road and just miss out the bus stop and try and successfully avoid any further accidents from that. As we're just looking at Tinsey now in 6th place in the prototypes, having a good battle with Peterson just behind him now, 3/10 behind him, close enough to be in the slipstream if he gets the opportunity, but they're just coming up on the BMW there to get past. Tinsey gets through very, very quickly. Peterson will be looking to make the overtake coming out the final corner, so nothing really gained for Tinsey there. He's still got Peterson in close he's just not quite close enough to do anything at the moment. I don't think he's going to get the run on to back straight to get into the slipstream for the bus stop, but he's keeping the pressure on as we look back at Atterbury now with battling still with Islam, and he's just sneaked down the inside. Is he going to get that job done? It looks like Islam's going to come back at him, and they're going to go side by side for 2 or 3 corners here. Very, very close.
See, they run up towards the bus stop chicane. Slavenik wants a piece of this as well. Mo Islam looks like he's going to get his nose in front there, and Atterbury has to go defensive from the other Ferrari. He's getting ganged up on here a little bit. It's always very scary as they go up towards, up through the S's, and particularly through turn 3. There's that wall on the outside, and it can be very easily clipped by one of them. As we see Sheridan Rosenbaum getting overtaken by Eric Thomas there for what is 3rd place in the category. Eric Thomas has had a fantastic race here, by the way, after not qualifying very well at all. He's really climbed up the order. To be fair, Rosenbaum didn't qualify that well either, yeah, Thomas now into 4th position as we look back from Robert Tinsley's car, 4-time LMP2 champion, let's not forget, in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, but those days were are becoming quite a long time ago now. 5 seasons ago, back season 6 was his most recent championship, and of course that was in the HPD, which is a little bit of a different beast to this one, where he's not been quite as successful so far in this season for Tinsley. 5th place in this championship so far, 41 points adrift with Kota Kundiga, and this is about where we've seen him week in, week out, really, on the fringes of the top 5.
Yeah, and interestingly, Jeffrey Ooms and David Williams out in the front at the moment. Ooms out in the lead on his last lap, set the fastest lap of the race with the 1:31.42, and Williams set his own personal best with a 1:31.5, so just a tenth more or less between them two on the last lap, but round about 7 seconds Williams is behind Ooms at the moment, so Ooms is continuing to build that lead as it stands, and he's looking to stamp his authority on this, and at the moment he's the man in the prime position to make it 3 from 3, so great drive from him so far tonight.
Yeah, absolutely unstoppable so far since he joined us for the Road America races. Chris Sherburne is trying to get through on Kevin Binkley, who doesn't look like he's going to defend this one too hard, swinging to the outside here, and then Sherburne lifts off and doesn't want to overtake either, so not sure what's going on between those two, but the battle for 11th is a strange one, and at the moment Kevin Binkley is going to stay in front. Look at Kevin Santana. An ultimate corner, very wide, out on the bumps and on the wrong line for the final turn, and he's going to he's going to be able to just hold on to things through that one. That could have got a lot worse for him, to be fair, but just a bit of a ride over the bumps and an adjustment of the line through the final corner, and he's managed to get away with one there. We go back to Sheldon Rosenbaum though. Despite being overtaken by Eric Thomas, he's not going to give up. He's going to continue to apply pressure here, and always good to see those battling through from the very back of the field in GTM now, knocking on the door of a podium if they can catch up to Franco Margarella, currently in the 3rd position.
Yeah, absolutely looking to pile the pressure on and move forward, because O'Keefe's up there in that 2nd place, Margarella 3rd, and then we've got Thomas and Rusbun here battling away for 4th place in the GTMs. It's as you said, we've got half of this race left to run. Things can turn around, so they need to keep battling, they need to keep pushing forward, because even though there's gaps of 6 seconds here, 3 seconds there, 9 seconds for O'Keefe up to the leader, those gaps can be overturned by the smallest of mishaps, and we've seen the way the prototypes are moving through the field. They are moving through the field and leaving some casualties behind tonight, so it's never over until that checkered flag waves, so they've got to keep pushing forward and trying to gain all the positions they can and close them times down.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see this battle continue on, Mercedes not a particularly popular choice of GT3 anymore. It used to be the very much the go-to, very stable and solid car, particularly if you're going to do a long endurance race. It's a very stable car that you want to drive for a long time, whereas the Audi, which was its main rival when they were first brought out, is a little bit more temperamental. But sometimes faster that way. Now we've got a whole raft of GT3s in iRacing, thankfully, with the Porsche and the Lamborghini, as you can see on your screen right now, and the Ferrari as well, just in the background, you can see there. Much more of a better selection these days. And of course the BMW M4, which is currently leading the GT Am category. This is a great battle going on a little bit further down though, being led by Mark Santana in the number 333. Dale Green just behind him. Then we've got Trent Brown and Kevin Santana. Not sure if they're any relation. I'm sure somebody will know. Yeah, this is looking for a top 10 at the moment for Kevin Santana. Not able to get through for the moment. Very big 4-car battle with Luke Schmidt and making it a 5-car battle. You wouldn't want to approach on this as an LMP2.
No, it's going to be fisticuffs at dawn here, because they're all very much closing up on each other, and it's all going to get very, very messy very, very soon as the prototypes coming through, and these GT cars are looking like they're up for a fight, even all the way back down to 13th in class. So yeah, the battle for every single position and every single point that they can get. And look how close they are coming through there. The Audi on the back of the Porsche now, cast on the back of Owens, looking to try and make a move, as we're going to cut back to a replay of Santana here. What's he done?
Yeah, what has he done? Up the hill, coming out of the boot section. Oh, he's just pushed a little bit too hard and got onto the grass, into the barriers. Luke Schmidt is going to be counting his lucky stars. He was able to avoid that one. He gets out of the way quickly as well. But there we have it. Santana out of the running in this one. Now, something interesting, very interesting has happened in LMP2 as David A. Williams comes into the pit lane after only 30 odd minutes. I think that's Joey Atterbury, by the way, off at the bus stop chicane. After Naranjo had to just navigate that one. Yeah, I think Williams is in after only half an hour in this one, trying to go a little bit off strategy. So Atterbury, what on earth has happened there? Did he hit the inside wall, quite possibly? You know those GT cars like to bounce across the curves through the first part of that structure game, but not quite that much. That's a bounce off the barriers, and there was only one winner in that fight. Atterbury, very damaged car. That was a very difficult, a very bad angle as well for that car.
Yeah, I have to say he did very well. He managed to get onto the brakes and avoid any further contacts. He nearly went through the second part of that chicane, and could have caused a bigger crash, but did well to get it pulled up and escape back to the pits. So unfortunate for him in the race, but limited the damage that he did to anybody else's race. So good driving. As we're looking at Owens, still now down in that P13, and he's just lost a little bit of ground to cast on that Audi now, and he's definitely losing touch with 12 places. Some more prototypes coming through at the minute. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the pit strategies are, as we're seeing quite a few of the prototypes coming in now for pit stops.
They're very, very fuel thirsty here today, but David A. Williams, interestingly, has had a 1:05 pit stop in this race, so he's clearly had to take on a longer stop for some reason, leaving Jeffrey Humes to have a 10-second lead in this one. And as long as his pit stop is all fine, then he should be able to take on the second half of this race with no problems at all. He reaches 26 seconds now, and as expected, he leaves the pit lane even a little bit shorter of a pit stop than everybody else is going to have in this one by the looks of things. Carter Gundiger has to do be a second longer. This one, David Schutt is going to be around a similar time as well. So Chris Sherburn looks like he's going to be the only one to be able to do 22 laps in this race. I almost can't believe that these guys are so on the limit with fuel. Surely it can't all be a strategic choice to all be going down at this time. So it's just be a very, very fuel thirsty circuit. But no, you're medium speed corners on the throttle a lot maybe, but still I'm very surprised by this.
Yeah, well, that's handed some points back to Carter Cunningham there, because Williams was looking solid in that second place, but Cunningham now will be looking to try and maintain that second place he's gained from Williams, and although he's 10 seconds behind the leader, he's going to be concentrating on keeping that 11 seconds back to Billy Smith in third.
Yeah, absolutely. Just ahead of Schutt now. Close between the two of them. Well, it's close between Smith, Schutt and Sherburn at the moment. Here they are, but let's not forget Chris Sherburn has not made a pit stop yet in this race. We're still waiting for him to do that, but very important battle for Billy Smith at the moment. Doesn't want to drop any further back in the prototype category. 3 points behind coming into this at the moment, and as they run on the road, he's 5 points behind Carter Kundiger in this championship. David A. Williams, trying to defend his title from season 10, is now beginning to struggle. He may only be able to get 9th in this one, and even if he can do that, that would be a good loss of 13 points when you're already adrift by 31. That is a big margin to be making up with only one half of the season to go. Here we are though, battle for the podium. Smith is going to be defending from this one hard, but he's got a long 25 minutes ahead.
Yeah, for sure, it's going to be a difficult one here, but Billy Smith looking like he's going to try and keep Schutt behind, but it's going to be difficult because the slipstream's pretty powerful along this back straight towards the bus stop. If Schutt can get a good run out of this final corner here onto the straight, but he's looking like yeah, it's definitely Smith's very, very, very defensive there, but just taking a lot of curb, getting a little bit airborne there was Schutt just behind Smith, and he's all good. He's tucked in very tight, and he's keeping that pressure piled on now, and Smith's absorbing it pretty well. He's driving his lines. He has gone defensive, as we've seen in a couple of corners, but at the moment he's still driving the racing line at the moment, not worrying too much about defending. He'll probably be praying at this point that they're going to come up to some GT cars soon, just so he can try and squeeze one or two in between him and Schutt, just to take some of that pressure away.
I think Schutt will be hoping for a couple of GT cars as well here, because you've seen here how it is not the easiest track to overtake at if there is no lap traffic to be dealing with here. Schutt's right up behind him, but not really too big enough braking zones to be able to make this one work. It's not impossible. I think the bus stop is going to be our next opportunity, unless there's a fantastic run through these final couple of corners for Schutt. I don't think there is going to be. A nice line from there from Smith, and he's got a good run onto the front straight. He'll be fine into turn one, but what's the slipstream going to be like down the back straight, up the hill towards the bus stop chicane here? It's not really close enough to make an impression there, and as you can see, they've both run out right there as well. But yeah, he's going to have to use the slipstream up towards the bus stop if he wants to make this work, because he's, in my opinion, not really going to be able to get it done anywhere else unless there's GT traffic, which there is not of at the moment, and a lot of them are going to be pitting by the looks of things soon, because Ross Booth and Paul Gibson from the lead of the pro cars are in right now, and you can only presume that most of the rest of the field are going to follow suit soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking at the lap times as well, last time round Cunningham was a second quicker than Ooms, so I'm wondering if they're in amongst traffic again, and Ooms has just maybe had a little bit of a poor run, but Cunningham he's 8 seconds off Ooms at the minute, but he's extended that gap to Smith. It was at 11 seconds, he's now around about 13 seconds, so he's really securing that second place as it stands at the moment, pushing forward. But one man who is not secure at all, and that is Smith here in this third place. Schutt really wants this final podium position, and he's applying all kinds of pressure, and he's looking for all ways round. He's pushing very, very hard. He's not dodging and weaving at the minute, but he is pushing hard. He's trying to force Smith into a mistake, as we just cut back now to Booth in the GT Pros, and he's now currently in 5th place after his pit stop. The guys ahead do have to pit, so I expect him to go back into the lead of that class very, very soon as the pit stops wash through the field.
Yeah, Brian Wojleski is going to get his moment in the lead of this race in that BMW. But 5 different manufacturers in the top 5 of GT Pro there, by the way, just for a brief moment, so that is good to see. BMW, Audi, Ferrari, Lamborghini and Porsche all being represented right up towards the front of that category. Ryan Robertson, in fact, is another BMW up towards the front of the overall GT race. 3rd place for him right now, because he hasn't pitted just for the moment. There's only 2 cars between himself, or there was only 2 cars between himself and Kevin O'Keefe before O'Keefe came into the pit lane. I think that would pretty much tie them up almost on points in the positions they were running in, but it really does depend if they're inside the top 10 or not. They should be, and in which case Robertson would be leading the championship by only 1 point. It's going to be a classic fight between the two of them through the second half of this season. Move away from North America, of course, but I don't think that the O'Keefe-Robertson rivalry is going to dive down anytime soon.
No, absolutely not, but Suzuka is going to be a fantastic circuit to watch them at. I mean, that's going to really lend itself to the speed of these prototypes, and the GTs are a good watch around Suzuka, but Smith's mind will be far, far, far away from Suzuka at the moment, as he's running around still holding on to 3rd place in the prototypes, and with a little bit more breathing space, albeit only half a second than he's had for a few corners over Schutt in that 4th place. But Schutt's still not giving up, he's still applying the pressure, he's still hanging on, but I think they're absolutely flat out, and I think they're very equally matched on pace at the moment, as Schutt's not really managing to make any inroads and make any moves on Smith, and Smith's I won't say comfortable in that third place as Schutt just dived down the inside there of the GT car, and Smith's trying frantically to get a car in between himself and Schutt at the moment, and he's just managed to do that, but not for long because Schutt's gone round the outside there of that car, and he's back onto the tail. Clean air between him and Smith in third place now.
Well, he didn't have a great run through that Audi there. You see him flash his lights there. I don't think he was very pleased at the Audi for changing line there a little bit. As I said earlier, a bit of miscommunication between the two of them really. It's always awkward through the SS section. Prototypes especially want to, if they can do flat out at any kind of angle through that little section of corners, whereas the GT cars do have to be a lot more careful up the hill there, and that can lead to arguments, we'll put it that way, between the two classes of car. But Schutt's got through, and when they do get in clean air, he does actually look quicker than Smith, but he's just not having the look through traffic, and do need a bit of skill through traffic as well to get through. It's not just turning up at the back of GT cars and suddenly be able to make your way through. There is a method and a kind of thought behind it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about racecraft, isn't it? You know, racecraft isn't just about overtaking and battling. It's about doing things like this. It's about being able to pick your way through a field. And some of the greatest racing drivers on the planet, they've been defined by the way they deal with traffic. And that's what they need to do tonight. That's what they need to concentrate on, as we're looking at Williams now, all the way down in 9th place. What does he have to do to get a break?
Cars everywhere. Poor Slavenik, I think, was one of them. And there's an LMP2 in the middle of the road there as well. It's Luke Carmody by the looks of things. Just trying to get through on Slavenik. Around the outside. The GT car was not expecting that whatsoever. The two come into contact. Carmody's going to have another hard hit with the barriers. Slavenik is going to be in the way here as well. I have to say, prototype, and what on earth, he's spinning up the wheels there but not going anywhere, so I'm not sure why not, but either way Carbonneau has gone back to the pit lane. I have to say he was squeezing his car into a very, very small gap there.
Yeah, for sure, and I tell you what, we've seen some incidents tonight, we've seen some accidents, but we've seen some fantastic avoiding manoeuvres from some of the GT and the prototype drivers. There's been some very, very late dives left or right to avoid some further accidents, and that's always good to see. The guys' reactions are sharp as ever, and managing to keep things all in line and intact. But Robertson, he's very, very comfortable in this first place in the GT AM class. O'Keefe in a comfortable second place, but 12 seconds back from Robertson. That's a real mountain to climb with less than around about 17 minutes left on the clock. So I think O'Keefe will be really sort of damage limitation, keeping that second place and trying to climb up and get as close as he can to Robertson. Two cars in between him, and it's all about scoring as many points as they can at the moment. And yeah, he'll want to try and maintain that pressure and keep the championship as tight as possible, and Robertson will be looking to try and leapfrog him, but I'm not quite sure he's done enough at the moment where they are to do that. But the championship is going to be very, very tight at the end of this round if it finishes as it is now.
Yeah, I think because they're both just about still in the top 10, Robertson is going to overhaul him by only 1 point, but of course we're not factoring in the point for pole position, which Robertson is going to get, or the point for fastest lap, which we don't know where it's going to go just yet. Obviously we can do a quick scan of the order, and it looks like that's going to go to Robertson as well, and we've got absolutely no idea about whether anybody has managed to get no incident points yet, because you do get a point for that one. Judging by the chaos that's gone on so far, I'd be impressed, but I said it every week, to be honest, because I feel like getting no incidents really is an achievement in such a multi-class event with so many cars, 50 cars starting every race. As a GT, you haven't even got control of where the LMP2s are going to go. You know, they might hit you, and that might be, even if it's light contact, it might not be a 4X, but you know, it might give you an incident point or two, and or even tip you out of control, I suppose. And you know, even if you're just being careful, somebody else can give you an incident point. So I think it's very, very hard to do.
Yeah, just interestingly, while we talk about the prototypes, Ooms is obviously, I think he's managing that lead at the moment, but that gap is down to just under 8 seconds. So Cunningham, he's still lapping ever so slightly quicker on the last lap, but he's got that gap down a little bit. He's managing to sort of close it, but I'm wondering if Ooms has just eased off a bit. He's taking his time through the traffic to avoid any incidents. But here we have got a battle, or we did have a battle there. That was Binkley looking to move up into 11th place in the prototypes, but he had a little bit of work to do before he could claim that spot. Currently looking at the GTMs with Brown in 8th place, looking to try and put a move on the Ferrari ahead of him, Schmidt, but for 7th place. But again, he's got a bit of work to do. But the Lamborghini's got reasonable straight line speed. He's just not quite close enough to catch enough of a slipstream to do anything about it. But he's in close proximity.
We used to see both of those further up towards the front, really. Not really been their day, as Dominic Turnenberg has had a quiet day, really, in 8th place at the moment. David A. Williams is right behind him. Long pit stop for him, let's not forget. 40 seconds longer than everybody else. Not sure why. It almost seems like he took tyres, but why on earth would he do that? Might even be too long for tyres as well, to be quite honest with you. 40 seconds. So, yeah. Don't know what's happened to David A. Williams in this race, but he's got to recover all he can here. 8th place might be his limit today, and even so, he's going to continue to lose points, and you almost start to feel like this championship is slipping away already for the reigning champion. 31 points behind at the start of the day. He's going to lose at least 10 to Carter Kundinger, I would say, in this one. Nearly the same to Billy Smith, who's in 3rd place at the moment. Both of those guys streaking away with this one. Only 5 points between them on the road as it stands. So, desperate times for Williams. He's still got half a season to go, but he just needs to get a move on.
Yeah, it's, you talk about pressure, and I think sometimes when you start to have a run of bad form, you have a few incidents and accidents, it can really affect you, and you start to try and overthink things, and Williams is really trying to apply the pressure here and get that place, get that 8th place. But yeah, we've seen it with Dan Neese. He's had bad result after bad result since he's just not able to get some good results. Obviously not here tonight, but he started the championship off so well and then just hit a patch of bad form, and it's really compounded the issue for him. But Williams not had the luckiest run this season. He's had some good results, and he's certainly shown pace at nearly every single round we've been at. He's usually qualified reasonably well, or he's shown some good pace at some point, but he's just not managing to get the results from that pace.
Again, lower than you'd expect. 9th place for him. Looking down the inside of Turnenberg there, but couldn't get through. I think he did have a massive run out the S's there. Well, I know he did, but the GT car was not in an opportune place. I'll put it that way. A slide from Turnenberg there is going to open the door, but where's he going to get through here? The final 2 corners are very fast indeed, and it would be a huge dive at this stage in the lap, so he's going to wait. And now that Turnenberg has got slowed up by a Ferrari, he can finally take his opportunity with the run down the home straight. Outside line even still, so it might be difficult for him. Although he sweeps around there nicely, and using that little bit of tarmac on the outside line there, David A. Williams has managed to get himself through into a... However, he's trying his hand at a 1 hour event here, and might be able to get his first podium in a 60-minute race.
Yeah, definitely. That's what he's going to be looking for, and everyone's looking for that podium at the moment. But I tell you what, Smith's doing a fantastic job of soaking up the pressure here from Sutton. He's really he's making it hard for Sutton. I think the clock's ticking down, and that's what Smith needs now. It's just keep ticking the laps away, watch that timer come down, and he's maintaining that 3rd place, and Shutt's not really making much of an impression. As I said a few laps ago, he's not really making his presence felt. The gap's just big enough that Smith can doesn't have to defend. He can still drive at optimum line, and if Schutt wants that position, he's going to have to do a little bit more work and put some more pressure on. He's going to have to get closer. He's going to have to drive in that dirty air, and he's going to have to really apply some pressure to force Smith into a mistake. And as I say that, he closes right up on the back now as they're just going to come round the GT car, and he's right on the back now. He's literally within a tenth of him, and we don't need a clock to see that how close that is. But again, Smith's just getting a good run through that corner there, opens the gap up ever so slightly. It's just to in and fro him, but Schutt's just not able to stay close enough to apply enough pressure at the moment to force Smith into that mistake that he needs.
He's still got 10 minutes here, so he doesn't need to force the issue at this stage, but he's going to want to continue to apply the pressure. To be fair, Billy Williams, I'm mixing people's names up now. Billy Smith, excuse me, has done well to soak up the pressure for this long. Don't forget, as they came out of the pit lane, still 25 minutes to go. This battle was raging, and it still is. Oh, into the final corner. This could be the moment. Schutt has finally got the run. Is he going to be squeezed into the BMW though? He's going to be attempted. Oh dear! A big squeeze between everybody, and the BMW there had to go on the grass just to avoid. Smith tried to use the GT3 there to get in the way a little bit, and a little bit of lag there. It just as fended off Schutt. That was nobody's fault really into turn number 1. Just a bit of blinking as it really put David Schutt offline there very unfairly, but it's absolutely nothing anyone can do about that.
Yeah, almost. I mean, fair play to Smith for keeping the foot in and keeping it alive there, because he only just had a nose in when they went to that corner, and like I say, I think the connection issue there just played into Smith's hands and put Schutt offline. He didn't want to avoid it. But yeah, like you say, I mean, Schutt will be looking for that podium. That'll be his third podium of the season if he can get on it, and it'll be his first third place of the season. He's had a second, he's had a first, but he'll be happy to try and get on. He's about a second and a half back now, so he's got a bit of work to do to build that gap. But here we have we're looking at Haley, who's looking to try and move forward on Paz. He's only half a second back now, and he's very much in the slipstream and trying to look at getting that 4th place in the GT Pros.
Yeah, absolutely. Haley's 2nd place in the championship right now, 9 points behind after 2 victories so far, including one at Road America, but it's only a top 5 at the moment. Just wonder if the Mercedes, is struggling that little bit today. We'll go back to Jimbo Piper. Started well, not ended well. It's going to be a top 10 in the Pro category, but he's outside the top 20 in the overall race. Only down 2 positions in the overall order, but that's because a lot of cars in front, including 3 prototypes, are behind him already in this race. It might be 4 now, actually, with the addition of Luke Carmanu. No, it is indeed 3. We've seen Cameron Bidwell recover to 13th. He's going to be salvaging those points. So only 7 minutes to go for Jeff Williams, and I feel like we're asking ourselves this question here every week. But is it too late for him to get in contention for this championship? He's already won a title, of course, Season 6 GTE category. No longer a category, of course. I don't believe he's won any others either. Certainly not of the... he certainly hasn't ever won a championship in LMP2 or GT3 in whatever form they have taken. But 9th place coming into this one, 58 points behind Carter Cunningham. He's only going to be gaining a few today. But surely, if he keeps on winning, then he can't be stopped, even though he joined 5 rounds in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, winning's winning. If he's going to make it a hat trick from three this evening, and that's 27 points he'll take away tonight. So that's, like you say, if he keeps doing that week in, week out, I mean, even if Cunningham finishes finishing second's about as good as he can do, isn't it? Really, he doesn't seem to have an answer for Ooms. And to be fair, Williams put a fly in the ointment because he had the pace on Cunningham, but it was the strategy that let him down. Whether he'd picked up some damage, I think, to have that extendedly extended pit stop to repair the damage maybe, and that's cost him a good solid second place tonight, and gifted Cunninger a few more points. Smith's done a great job, because at one point he was running down in 7th, so he's battled back through the field, and he's got in a pretty solid 3rd place at the minute. He's managing to fend off Schutt, and in fact Schutt's dropping further back after closing up a little bit, but he's looking like he's maybe going to keep that position at the moment, is Smith.
Just to look ahead as well, let's talk about Suzuka ever so briefly before we get to the end of this race. We've still got 5 minutes to go, and we're monitoring this battle for 4th in GT3, of course. But Suzuka, 3 weeks' time, we're obviously getting rid of the North American circuits that we've been having over the first half of this season. To me, Suzuka, with its high-speed corners in a very similar way to this, is just a narrower version of Watkins Glen almost. This circuit a little bit slower, a few less medium speed and higher speed corners, a few more at Suzuka. But with it being a similarly flowing circuit and even narrower than this one, it could very well be very chaotic indeed, given by what we've seen here tonight.
Yeah, not only is it the similar nature of flowing and but narrower, it's very similar in some of the fact that a lot of the barriers are very close to the edge of the track as well, so there's not a lot of runoff areas, and some of those barriers are actually concrete walls, the bridge and things like that, so it's there's lots of potential for damage there as well, so hopefully not, but yeah, it's going to be a fast track, it's going to be a flowing track, but it's going to be equally difficult. I don't think there is an easy track, is there, for these guys with such a speed difference and so many cars. It's very, very difficult, and I think generally on the whole they do a pretty good job of finding their way through, but it's the luck of the draw, and there's some unlucky drivers out there that have been caught up in a few incidents as well.
Yeah, there are certainly no easy circuits. A couple that don't often turn up in multi-class sports car racing like this series here, like Hungaroring and Imola are interesting me, certainly. At rounds 10 and 12 they're going to be as we head towards the springtime. Yeah, look out for them, and look out for the Virtual Grip Network, of course, because we'll be broadcasting those races, of course, live from start to finish, as always, in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. But yeah, this Watkins Glen race kind of drawing to a close now, really, and it's a case of whoever's left at this stage in this one, really, because I reckon we have 37, maybe 38 cars out here, more than 10 retirements, a bigger toll than we saw at Belle Isle, which was very well behaved indeed. This one has been a couple of questionable manoeuvres from time to time, but either way, there's been plenty getting to the end of this race as well. There's going to be plenty of arguments, I feel like, between the drivers as well after some of these manoeuvres. A number of guys thinking they're in the right and the others in the wrong, and vice versa.
Yeah, it's very difficult, isn't it? Some of the prototypes, I mean, on the outset, just looking at the incident with just one view and just watching it once, you almost feel like some of them were a little bit aggressive and trying to push their way through, but it's easy to make a judgment just on what we see here, but yeah, it's difficult, and I'm sure the discussions will rage on into the evening as just looking at Peterson there, threading he's at the eye of a needle again.
Yeah, straight through the middle of those few cars. Go back to Binkley and Joshua Wolf, who finally got this battle going for 10th position. Joshua Wolf has been in the walls today a little bit. You can see the rear end of his car not quite straight, but look at this, side by side through the final sector. Great racing between the two of them. Not often a place where you see much side by side racing, but Wolf has pulled that one off there. Binkley is not done with it though. He's going to try and get back down the inside into turn number 1, and he's going to be successful. 10th place is going to be his, unless Wolf can get the cutback once again and maybe make another move up the hill through the S's. It is easier to go side by side in the prototype through here, but you don't want to really making dives up the hill here, because that really will throw everything up in the air, including the cars quite possibly. But let's see, Wolf out onto the inside line. Is he far enough alongside? He is, and Binkley is going to have to concede. A nice battle towards the end of this race between these two.
Yeah, and great respectful driving between the two of them as well. Good moves and no squeezing. But yeah, Binkley's got it all to do again now to try and get back past Wolf. And Maybe it was tactical. Maybe he thinks he's got it in the bag and he's going to pass him on the last lap just to make it safe. But that last lap is fast approaching. As the timer hits 59 minutes of the 1 hour, so he's not going to have long to go. As we're with our race leader, he's had no airtime this evening. He's had no camera time pretty much whatsoever because he's just run off into the front of this race. He's never looked back from qualifying. He's just led from start to finish without any real stress, without any real hassle. We haven't, correct me if I'm wrong, Ewan, but I don't think we've seen him really embroiled in any difficulties with the GT cars too much. I think we saw a glimpse of him at one point going through a bunch of cars, but other than that, he's had a very, very quiet race out front, all on his own pretty much.
I've not seen him all season really. He's been doing this for 3 rounds in a row now, particularly at Road America. He was absolutely dominant, has been again here today. Potter Cunningham ran him close at Belle Isle 1 week ago, or running closer, but still Jeffrey Hume's day. And today it's going to be another one for him. His 13th Autobahn Sportscar Challenge race victory, in either that be it a class victory or an overall victory, of which this is going to be one. Ross Booth is also going to take home a pretty commanding victory in GT Pro, having his second race victory in a row. He hasn't finished off the podium since Daytona, which is starting to feel a very, very long time ago for some of his championship rivals, with also Ryan Robertson making amends for last week by taking the championship lead. Another dominant performance from him in this race here today. Robertson is becoming a very, very successful driver in this championship. His 4th win in this Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. Yeah, continues to add to his tally. This is Jeffrey Humes though. Final sector for him, and it is another outstanding performance. Watkins Glen is going to be his here once again. He's led basically for a collective 3 hours and a half since he joined us in season 11. Not a newcomer to this series, but he is absolutely fantastic when he's here. Jeffrey Humes over the line again, and nobody can touch him. 14 seconds is his margin this time. He takes victory at Watkins Glen, and a very, very deserved one too. Potter Cunningham nowhere near him in that one despite his best efforts. It's a similar story in GTM. We've got a brief glimpse of Ryan Robertson. We've not had many glimpses of Ross Booth here today either, because he's been so dominant. This has been more like the kind of thing we've seen today. Christopher Pace, Bradley Haley and Albert Jones battling over 4th place. Albert Jones, we never got to see what happened to him, but he dropped down the order earlier on in the race from a podium position in GT. Now he's trying to get inside the top 5 on the very final lap ahead of Bradley Haley, trying to limit the damage to this man. Ross Booth is leading the championship. He's going to extend it to Haley by a significant margin today, possibly double it by the end. We'll have to do the maths on that one. But it's another victory for Ross Booth, and a very, very pleasing one it is indeed for him. He crosses the line with no competition at all. Bradley Haley, down his limitation for him today, mostly does the job on that one with a top 5 finish. And Ryan Robertson, it's a case of what could have been last week. He could have gained so many points on his rival Kevin O'Keefe. In the end, he lost one, but he's going to make amends for that this time and take the championship lead here once again. But what is the first time in a few weeks now? A very good race indeed, an attritional race, but 3 dominant displays, 3 dominant winners in this Watkins Glen 1 hour race.
Yeah, and that's the 3rd win of the season for Robertson. O'Keefe, who's up there with him, he's only had 1 win this season, but he's had 2 seconds where Robertson's only had 1. So championships, they're sharing the spoils, as it were, and it's all looking really, really close. But we're just going to look at the results now of the AM class, and I'll let you run us through that, Ewan.
Yeah, Ryan Robertson lapped 1 less time by the leader, Jeffrey Humes, and so he gets a lap victory over Kevin O'Keefe and Franco Margrella. The top 3 pretty static all day, but Shane Hunter and Eric Thomas did a good job to get inside the top 5. Sheldon Rodenbaum just missed out. Trent Brown was 7th ahead of Robert Cast, Luke Schmidt and Dale Green. Rounding out your top 10 in that one. Most of the guys a little bit further down did have issues throughout this race. Somewhere along the line, even Matthew Gotch, you can see, was on his roof after only 1 lap. GT Pro, and it's Ross Booth by nearly 10 seconds ahead of Ryan Rusleski, the defending GTD champion. Paul Gibson, another pony for him. Christopher Pace soaked up a massive amount of pressure from Bradley Haley in that race to finish 4th. Albert Jones was a latecomer to that party, getting in 6th. Oh, Islam was 7th after a poor qualifying. Clifton Naranjo on his first run out in this season finished 8th. Young Park, despite his spin fairly early on, finished 9th ahead of Jimbo Pfeiffer, rounding out your top 10. And all of those top 10, only ones to get to the flag in that class. Meanwhile, in LMP2, Jeffrey Humes was running away from Carter Gunninger. Lee Smith held on very well for a 3rd position ahead of David Schutt. Another top 5 for Robert Tinsey in this one ahead of Patrick McDaniel. Lee Peterson was just about behind him. David A. Williams getting into that top 8 ahead of Dominic Durnenberg and Chris Sherburn, rounding out your top 10 in the prototype category. Well, hopefully we'll get to speak to some of the drivers here in this one after that Watkins Glen race. First of all, we've got Kevin O'Keefe waiting for us in the booth, so we'll bring him in and have a bit of a chat with the man who finished in 2nd place in the GTE AM order in the end. Kevin, good to have you with us here in the commentary box for a bit of a chat. How was that race for you? It seemed to us, especially for the GTs, it was exceptionally chaotic, even more so than the Belle Isle race 1 week ago. Is that what it felt like to you guys in the GT3 class?
Well, I made it a point just to survive, so I tried to stay out of the way of the chaos, but I had multiple times where they crashed in front of me and I had to avoid it, so it wasn't too bad for me because people held their brakes, but but I think I had 80 X's in practice, no joke, so I just made it a point to not attack this race.
It was certainly a good plan in the end, really. I mean, what can you say about Ryan Robertson, your rival in this season so far? We're only halfway through, maybe getting a little bit ahead of ourselves in the commentary box, I can't lie. But how are you feeling about that battle? It's been raging on so far in the season. Are you confident you can come back at him after the last couple of weeks?
Well, that's why I'm here. It's probably the last week I'm going to be at the top of the points, so that's why I'm in the booth right now, because he's just too good. He would have won Mid-Ohio, but he got spun. He wound up getting 2nd, and then something happened at Mosport too, where he got taken out. So, he should be in the lead by a lot.
Well, it's a long season. You never know what can happen, who knows what the second half will bring for you. But for now, we'll let you go. Thanks very much for coming to talk to us, we'll see you in a few weeks' time at Suzuka. But congrats on 2nd, and thanks for talking to us.
I just want to say that the guys at Virtual Grip, I think, are doing a great job.
Thank you very much. Kevin O'Keefe coming to join us from 2nd place in the GT AM category in that one. Now then, let's see. We'll stick it with GT AM this time, shall we? Because Ryan Robertson is also here. We'll chat to him now. The winner on this occasion at Watkins Glen. Ryan, it's good to have you with us. It was a real runaway victory for you in this one, but set up by qualifying. Was that race also a case of just staying out of trouble for you as well as it was for Kevin, as he just told us? Were you just staying out of the way of everybody else, or were you attacking that one quite hard?
It was mostly a survival race. The past couple of races have not been super good for me. Like, I had the win at Road America, but I was nursing a damaged car, so it was less. This race was just trying to get the car home clean, not really fighting the pro guys. Like, if I had the speed on them, fine, but using them as just kind of a drafting partner and, making sure I could build that gap to Kevin or whoever was behind me at the time, and just build off of that and get a win and get it clean.
Yeah, you managed to do that on this occasion. I mean, we're going to be stepping away from the North American circuits for the second half of the season. Is that something you're really going to notice as a driver? It's something we like to talk about as a commentator. It's quite a good statistic, but is it completely trivial to you drivers? Are you just going to be getting on with it either way?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's just going to be a matter of putting in the effort in the laps before the race. The rest of the calendar I don't really have a problem with or hate any of the tracks, so hopefully I can keep it clean again and continue to do well and ride that wave.
Absolutely. Yeah, we look forward to seeing it. For now, though, we'll let you go and enjoy your victory here tonight. Congratulations, and thanks for coming to talk to us.
Thanks.
Robertson, winner from GT in this 1 hour race at Watkins Glen. Let's move up the categories this week, shall we? And go to GT Pro next, because Ross Booth is waiting for us in the booth. Ross Booth in the booth. Here we are. Joining us now from a victory in GT Pro. A couple of victories in a row now for you, Ross. Things starting to go well. It was always delights to flag the one for you on this occasion as well. How was the race overall? We've spoken about survival a lot in the GT category here once again today. And was it a case of that for you as well?
Yeah, not so much survival in the GT class. I think this week was more hitting what downforce package you should have in the car. I was on a very high downforce setup, and I think that is what helped me here today. It's better through traffic. I was able to keep the tires on it, and I guess I sort of survived. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're on a fantastic run of form at the moment. 6 podiums in a row for you right now. 2 wins on the bounce as well. Are you kind of surprised by your run of form at the moment, or are you feeling good in the car and very confident about what you're doing going into each race?
I'm pretty confident going into each race. A lot of prep behind the scenes, and just trying to put my best foot forward every single week and represent satellite racing every week, and trying to put it on one of the steps of the podium.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only of course 2 wins on the bounce, but leading the championship as well, extending your lead indeed. So congratulations on that. Another good day for you. We'll let you go now though. Thanks for coming to talk to us though, and yeah, we'll see you in a few weeks' time. There we are, Ross Booth from the GT Pro victory for the 2nd week in a row here at Watkins Glen. Now, one final interview I think we're going to be able to grab. We're not going to be able to grab the winner overall, Jeffrey Ooms, by the looks of things, but Carter Kundiger is going to join us here once again. 2nd place for the 2nd week in a row. It's been almost repeat results in some of the categories, and for Carter Kundiger, it is a repeat result for the 2nd week in a row. 2nd place for you, Carter. Not able to get near Jeffrey Ooms. Sort of a same old story to last week. Is that what it felt like as you were driving in the car? Did you have that kind of damning sense of, oh, he's kind of gone again, or did you still have hope some way through that race?
You know, I'd like to say I had hope, but yeah, I mean, it's just really hard going up against a guy like Jeffrey Ooms who has so much pace. You know, I mean, me and David definitely lost him at the start, and I mean that's basically where the 8-second gap happened. It was the first few laps before we hit traffic, and then once we got into traffic, I guess our paces were pretty equal for the most part. I think he got maybe a second or 2 on me during that, which would have been the remaining like 50 minutes of the race, but. Yeah, I mean, I'll admit, you know, I'm taking these seconds as wins just because I know pace-wise it's going to be very hard to catch Jeffrey with just how much overall pace he has in this car. It's pretty crazy. So I'm either gonna need, if I'm gonna actually win one this season, I think I'm gonna need some traffic luck to go my way and possibly Jeffrey running into some issues.
Well, there's a lot of races to go, 7 races to go, and anything can happen, of course. This one in particular, we were expecting Belle Isle to be the particularly chaotic one, but it turned out Watkins Glen was a much more chaotic affair. Did it feel like that as you were driving around today, a more chaotic race? And are you maybe surprised by the fact that this one was, in my opinion anyway, more chaotic than Belle Isle 1 week ago?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I guess I kind of was very hopeful that it wouldn't be, but, you know, thinking about it now, just with all the speed you carry through Watkins Glen, I mean, you know, typically, right, I mean, the faster you go, the faster the wrecks, so, you know, it definitely felt, at least I feel like I didn't cause too many issues out there. I did have one minor error with my teammate, which I do feel awful about. I closed in on him coming out of the carousel there, but, I mean, other than that, though, it was... If there was anything that happened around me, it was just stuff I had to avoid, whether that was, you know, just cars spun on the inside of corners or whatnot, or, you know, driving through smoke or slow cars. And so at least from my point of view, it wasn't too chaotic. But yeah, I mean, I can't see exactly how Watkins Glen got as crazy as it was.
Yeah, absolutely. We're expecting we might see more of the same at Suzuka in a few weeks' time. We're waiting to see that one. But no, congratulations to you once more. Second place for the second week in a row, which is not a bad feat in a field like this. But we'll let you go now. Enjoy your second place once again, and we'll see you in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, will do. Should be fun.
Absolutely. Carter Gunninger, second place here in the race at LMP2, and indeed overall at Watkins Glen. Well, that's it then. 1 hour of racing at Watkins Glen done here for this one, Steve. As I mentioned, I'm very surprised by what we've seen today. I've got to be honest, very surprised. I bet some people are going to be fearful about what is to come at Suzuka.
Yeah, they've got an extra week of practice, so about 3 weeks of practice, I think, and then we'll hit Suzuka. And as you said earlier, it's going to be really, really fast track. It's going to be difficult. I think there'll be a few guys a little bit worried because, as was alluded to there in the interview, the faster you go, the bigger the wrecks. And we've certainly seen that this evening. We've seen a few wrecks. Suzuka's going to be an interesting one, but I am very excited to see it, and I think we'll get some good racing. The GTs again, the championships, to be fair, in all three classes, closing right up. There's nothing between them, and everything is still to play for. O'Keefe being very humble there, thinking that this is going to be the last time he was on the top of the points. I don't think like that. It's okay having the hot lap pace, but at the end of the day, wrecks happen, accidents happen, points get taken away. It's all still to play for. You've got to still battle. But yeah, great racing tonight. Looking forward to Suzuka.
Absolutely. So that's one half of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge for season 11 complete. 7 rounds out of 14, and they were all in North America. Now it's time to go to the Far East for Suzuka and Motegi, starting in a few weeks' time, and then 5 European rounds to end off this season and decide our 3 champions in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge in season 11. Thanks very much to everybody who's joined us here tonight, though. It's been good fun once again. My name's been Ewan O'Leary. I've been alongside Steve Proudly for this 60-minute race here at Watkins Glen. Make sure you join us in a couple of days' time, though, because the Virtual Grip Network has racing going on all of the time. It's the Coast to Coast Racing League's hometown heroes at Volusia Speedway once again at 7 p.m. ET Wednesday. It's just a couple of days away, so make sure you catch that one at the same place you found us here for the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, which returns in 3 weeks' time. So don't go turning up in 2 weeks and run doing while there's no race. It's just 3 weeks this time. A little bit of an extra break as we go through the midpoint of our season. And then, back to the fortnightly races for the second half of the season. But for now, that's all from us. This has been a Virtual Grip Network broadcast. I hope you very much that you have enjoyed it. And for now, it's goodbye.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing. All from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.